how concerned do we need to be about COVID right now?
That's a rough question in many senses. Oh yeah. So the good news now is that we've learned a lot about it. The biggest thing with any new disease in epidemics is ignorance. And that's true for anything in life, by the way. Another little pearl there. Ignorance is terrible because it leads to fear, right? I'm not talking about the ignorance where you have no clue what's going on and you go around and walk and you don't care. Not that one. I'm talking about not knowing what you're facing. That usually leads to fear. And that's the state we were, I think, in February, March, April, because what we had were the stats from China, 5 to 10% of people may die. This is a terrible disease, right? So the beautiful thing now is that we've learned more about this virus. We know how it affects the body. We know whom it tends to get the sickest. We know how we get it. And there's a lot of smart people working on different ways on how to treat it and how to prevent it. Talking about vaccines and talking about medicines, and talking about ways how to support somebody once they get sick. We're learning potential about some supplements. And the one I know for sure that has some evidence is vitamin D. But we know that if we pay attention to some of the things that we talked before, like staying fit, watch your weight. When you're obese, your body is in an inflammatory state. So all it needs is one more thing to get you all decomp, and things get worse. Okay, so we know that there are things that we could do with ourselves that will make a difference. But I will probably focus right now on behavior. We know that if when we go outside, we wear our mask, or we keep some type of distance, and I'm talking about outside in terms of at work or in the grocery store, when we're exposed to other people in a close distance, is 2 to 3 meters, appears to be the magic number, okay? Outside in the parks, and you're far away from other people, feel free to have your mask handy, but you don't have to wear a mask, right? So because we know those things, then we know that we have, we can go out to the park again and exercise and breathe and be happy and take the sun that is amazingly healing, right? And connect with people with some precautions. Before we were like, oh, I cannot talk to you, keep this terrible distance, right? So I think that knowledge has helped us a lot in that sense, on being more cautious. As time is passing by, we're learning even more about what to do in those cases. Good things in terms of knowledge. 50% of the people, as of now, are completely asymptomatic. Now, this is biased information because we've only tested so many people, but 50% of the people, let's say in a cruise, or in some areas where they're being able to study close environments, 50% of the positives were completely asymptomatic. Not a sniff, not a fever, not a headache, nothing. Out of the people that got sick, 80% had minimal symptoms. Those are the ones with the headache, malaise, the feverish, the sore throat, I don't smell, I don't feel, may have a little diarrhea, but they don't need to go to the hospital. Only 20% of those that get sick end up in the hospital. And then 5% end up very, very sick in the unit. So it's good to know all these things because it's making a difference on the measures that we need to take as a society. We can now tell who needs to be extremely cautious. Older people definitely need to be extremely cautious. The youngest know that, they need to go on work. The financial repercussions are crazily high as well, and some people at this point and for a long time, know that they have to go on work because how are they going to eat? How are they going to pay their rent and stuff like that? So this is no game. This is serious stuff. But we know that if we're cautious, we can do those things and not fear disease. And know that you're young, you're healthy, probably you're going to do well even in those settings. Okay? And if you get sick, then you reach out and go to, and then, get support, obviously. It's impossible to predict. We know that young kids sometimes could get these terrible inflammatory disorders. It's being described, but it's not most of the kids. And but it gives knowledge, gives us a little peace of mind in the sense of, let's do what I need to do. I need to go out and work, be productive, be cautious, and move on with life, and protect the people that I know in my world that are the weakest, the older, the ones that have illnesses that makes them immune deficient.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. There's so many different perspectives that I hear on COVID, especially you hear so much political argument around COVID. You hear the right wing of anywhere the extreme side is, it's a hoax, it's all lies. And then a lot of people feeling like, oh, well, it's not as serious as they say it is. And then a lot of people feeling like it's more serious than they say it is. It's really serious. We need to wear a mask everywhere, masks outside. So you've got all these people that think you need to wear the mask everywhere. We need social distance. We need to shut everything down. And then a lot of people say, we don't need to do any of that. People will be fine. It's not a real disease. And it's good to hear you just talk about it in a level and clear way. Like, this is what we know about it. This is what's going on. Let's take precautions and let's be wise about our decision making when we do the things we need to do. So that's sort of what I hear you.
And I can tell you one thing. This is something that having seen hundreds of people sick with this disease, it's not a joke. It's not made up. This did kill lots of people. It was not fun to deal with it. It was not fun to see young people come in short of breath, gasping for air, and you give him oxygen, it's not working. You're trying all these things that you heard we could use and they really didn't, and somehow just fading in front of your eyes, because of an exposure to this virus. Okay. Many others, we know now that those were those thousands of people that we see. I think almost 200,000 deaths in the States, right? 200,000 deaths, but remember, those are the least, that's the 0.1% of all that have been sick. You have to multiply that by if that's the 0.1% of a number, you're talking about a huge amount of numbers that were exposed, okay? But before we didn't know that, before we were saying 2, 3 to up to 10% of the people could die. And remember, nobody was immune to this stuff. That was catastrophic. So I understand why at the beginning, being extremely cautious was the norm. But we've learned some stuff, okay? But I don't think anybody should be just, oh, there's nothing, don't worry about it, because that's the extreme. Now, people are entitled to their opinion. That's something that I learn in life, okay? That's okay. You can choose to believe whatever you hear, and close your eyes to other realities, but just talk to any nurse or doctor that's taking care of this disease, and they will really, really tell you what it is. And it's not because we're influenced by politicians. We've seen people dying. This is not
right.
fun, So you have to be cautious, but as you rightfully said, just with a few minimal things, little distance, little mask, makes a huge, maybe washing your hands makes a huge difference, and you're going to be safe, And of course, take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. People with strong bodies, athletic and all this stuff, do much, much better. In general, in life, everything is about odds. There's no absolutes, for sure in medicine. But odds are, if you're in great shape, okay, you're strong, you're an athlete, you have a good cardiovascular reserve. When you're in the worst setting, when your body for some reason decides to react in a crazy way against the virus, you have such a great reserve that allows you to come out of it better. The chance of coming out of it are way better, okay, than if you're in terrible health and don't do anything about it. So it's interesting, but I will always what you remind me is this is true. There's so many points of view about anything, and just be mindful. I always love this thing about chew before you swallow, right? You remember that concept? This is from the 5 Agreements. I forgot I'm blocking on his name right now. This Mexican.
Yeah, Don Miguel Ruiz. Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah.
His 5th agreement, he has added book, was chew before you swallow. just don't believe anything. Just try to make sense of it, research it. Whenever you look at, remember, there's one channel, there's a handful of channels that will always tell you the best about this candidate, but there's another channel that will tell you the worst about that candidate. So just be mindful what you're watching, where you're getting your information from, and just be wise and make your own mind about everything in life. This is true about everything. There's no one way to heal. There's no one way to eat. There's no one way to exercise. There's not one anything. You have to be willing to learn and then make your own mind and test them and see if it makes sense, and take it from there.
So in a way, we can take this time that we're in. There's so much going on, right? COVID, one of the big things. We could see COVID as something that's motivating us to make healthier choices in our lives. So we have that underlying strength and resilience. Resilience has been a big word for me right now, because my theme through all of this, I said, how am I going to evolve and grow through this time? This really challenging time. There's COVID, there's the political environment, there's the racial issues. Now we're right in the midst of the wildfires over here in Oregon and Washington, which has been really intense. Again, another thing on the lungs, which I've been surprised at how much it's affected my lungs, even being outside for a short amount of time, because the air quality is so horrible here. But again, it reminds me, how can I become more resilient? How can I become healthier and stronger? And how can I help as many other people as possible do that and embody that intention as well, no matter what comes up in these times? So what I appreciate what you're sharing is, from your perspective, your wisdom, your knowledge, I hear you sharing that same thing. Yes, we have COVID, we have all these things going on, we have all these stressors in life. How can you be creative and figure out and hold that intention of how you're going to evolve and grow so that you can live a better life, a happier life, a healthier life, which inevitably allows you to support other people to do the same.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you got value out of this video, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and make sure you click the bell so that you get notifications for the next videos that we put out. We've got a lot of amazing content, videos, and interviews coming up. So you'll definitely want to get the notifications, because we're interviewing some amazing people. We've got a lot of cool things happening. So you're going to want to make sure you get those notifications. And then you can also follow Embody the Practice on Facebook and Instagram. You can also go to my website, embodythepractice.com. You can contact me. You can learn more about the coaching that I offer and learn more about how we can support you to live a greater life of strength, health, and happiness in all areas of your life. So I look forward to connecting with you more. And until next time, stay strong, stay resilient, and stay healthy out there.